computer is picking up a strange signal. Here, sir, you better take a look at it.
Hello, dear listener, and welcome to episode 72 of Life Through a Prism with your host, Rob Tierney. Today in this episode, we're going to take a look at an article from ABC Queer on abc.net.au entitled, "On Transgender Day Visibility, a Gender Euphoria Scale May Improve Mental Health Outcomes." This is written by Jack Gow. Dated Monday the 31st of March 2025. Trans advocate Max Pick remembers the first time they experienced gender euphoria. It's like being able to breathe without having to think about it, when maybe for years you had to think about every single breath, they say. It's quite simply the feeling of being seen for who you are in ways that have not always been granted to you. Max, who affirmed their trans masculine identity later in life, says the feeling of finally being comfortable in their own skin was life-changing. "I felt gender euphoria when I got the embarrassing bum fluff of a 14-year-old boy at the age of 36, they say. And when Madam started to change to Sir, and especially when my t-shirts could fit on me, because I finally have the flat chest returned to me that I used to have." Max runs a not-for-profit clothing brand that raises funds for people looking to undergo gender-affirming surgery, so they know the positive impacts experiencing gender euphoria can have for others. The opportunity for other trans and gender diverse or TGG people to experience the joy Max describes is at risk, with a wave of anti-trans policies being introduced here and abroad. But Australian researchers are offering a glimmer of hope. In a world's first, researchers from Swinburne University of Technology and Murdoch Children's Research Institute have come up with a way to measure gender euphoria, which may have significant implications for the mental health of trans and gender diverse TDGD adolescents and adults. Right now, the global environment for TGD people is truly scary, says Max. Positive experiences and focusing on gender euphoria have the power to reframe how we see ourselves. What is gender euphoria? Tara Lorison, chair of TGD charity Transcend Australia, describes gender euphoria as a profound sense of joy, confidence and comfort that comes from feeling quote-unquote right in your gender and having other people recognise that. Gender euphoria is a key component of mental and emotional well-being for TGD people, says Tara. Research has shown that experiencing gender euphoria is associated with lower levels of psychological distress and suicidal ideation. When trans people are affirmed in their gender, whether through supportive relationships, healthcare, and or self-expression, it fosters resilience, confidence, and a greater sense of belonging. Experiencing gender euphoria can come about in myriad ways, including changing your hairstyle, wearing different clothes, being referred to by your preferred pronouns, to hormone therapy or gender-affirming surgeries. Max says gender euphoria can also be found in not being singled out for their transness. Gender euphoria can simply be a moment of invisibility in a crowd, they say, a moment when eyes are not on you, because feeling eyes on you is exhausting. In a world that tries to make being trans the entirety of our being, we deserve to enjoy the complex, multi-layered identities that all of us have, without being locked and frozen on any one part of us. Gender euphoria can come from small moments every day or national events. It can come from a passing moment with a stranger or life-changing policies at the highest level of governments. So what did the study involve? Researchers from Swinburne University of Technology, Murdoch's Children's Research Institute, and the University of Melbourne interviewed more than 700 trans Australians aged between 16 and 79. The participants were selected from the Transform study, a trans-led project run by the Trans Health Research Group, and then were asked a series of questions about their past experiences of gender euphoria. Common experiences in the participants' responses were then used to formulate 26 items that made up the gender euphoria scale. These were based around three core themes: social affirmation, self-affirmation, and community connection. Swinburne PhD student and MCRI researcher in transgender health, Charlotte Blacklock, says the scale has the potential to significantly advance our understanding of positive gender-related experiences. There is growing recognition of the need to broaden understandings of gender diversity by exploring and highlighting the joyful aspects of trans people's lives, she says. We have created the first ever scale to assess gender euphoria, a concept that arose from within the trans community to describe positive feelings associated with being trans. Co-author of the study, Dr. Simone Buswell from Swinburne, says the scale could be used to improve mental health treatment for the TGD community by focusing on how to help people experience gender euphoria. The Gender Euphoria Scale could be used to help clinicians focus on assisting clients to experience positive aspects of gender identity, rather than focusing on eliminating gender dysphoria, she says. Tara believes the scale will also allow advocacy groups like Transcend to better support TGD people. By understanding what drives gender euphoria, we can advocate for policies and services that maximise these affirming experiences, ensuring that TGD individuals can thrive rather than just survive, she says. Why this matters now more than ever. The recent decision from Queensland's Health Minister Tim Nicholls to deny access to hormone treatment for new trans and gender diverse patients under 18 serves as a stark reminder of the power governments wield over TGD people's ability to experience gender euphoria. The controversial decision triggered a nationwide day of protests and forced Federal Health Minister Mark Butler to announce a review of the National Standards of Care and Treatment Guidelines for TGD children and adults. Max also knows the positive impact government decisions can have on everyday lives. Last year, the New South Wales Parliament passed a bill allowing TGD people to change the gender on their birth certificates without undergoing surgery. When the Equality Bill passed that allowed me to update my ID documents, I felt gender euphoria. I felt it passed through me like a wave from the whole trans community, like we could all breathe collectively. The need for a positive approach to trans and gender diverse identities. TGD people experience disproportionately high rates of mental ill health, self-harm and suicide due to a range of factors including discrimination, vilification, gender dysphoria, and being ostracised from social support networks. Despite the seriousness of these challenges, trans advocates say it is essential to also focus on the positive aspects of being TGD. Recognising and measuring gender euphoria is essential in shifting the narrative away from solely focusing on challenges and the impacts of discrimination and vilification, and instead highlighting these positive markers of well-being and the life-affirming aspects of trans experiences, says Tara. For too long, research and public discourse have centred around the challenges and distress associated with being trans, often reinforcing a deficit-based perspective. While it's important to address issues like discrimination and dysphoria, she says a strengths-based approach is more empowering. It shifts the focus to what is working, what brings joy, and what enhances well-being. This research is an important step in recognising that trans experiences are not just about overcoming challenges, but also about thriving, celebrating identity, and feeling affirmed. The hope is that the scale will become widely adopted by clinicians, researchers, and policymakers to reframe the way trans healthcare and well-being is approached. The need for a more positive approach to trans identity is echoed by Max. Trans people, especially young trans people, need to see images and experiences of other trans people in a state of joy, in a state of peace, they say. The trans people I know who regularly experience gender euphoria are some of the most open-hearted, kind, contributing and brave people I know. It's not just the trans community who need people like that. The world needs people like that right now. There you are, listener. If you identify as trans or gender diverse, what do you think in regards to this study and a euphoria scale? Would love to hear from you. Let's have a conversation. Till next time. Take care, and bye for now.